Chapter 22. Into the Void. We backtracked over scorched, blackened land, searching for Zoya. The hills looked like huge heaps of charcoal, the trees like fat, blackened poles. Now and then a previously untouched sprig, bush, or clump of grass would erupt into flame. We found Zoya's body, curled up in a ball near a rocky outcropping. With our hands we dug a shallow grave, then covered it with stones. Tamara's eyes glistened with tears as she, Sergo, and I stood over Zoya's grave. In the near distance we heard artillery. Nervous, on the lookout for danger, we headed in the opposite direction. No one spoke. The only sound was the shuffling of our feet as we plodded along through thick ash. We choked on thin, powdery clouds of the stuff constantly being kicked up as we walked. It got on our eyes, mouths, and noses. The whole earth, it seemed, stank of fire, and our bodies, too, were permeated with the stench. Overhead, a warm sun bore down. Black rivulets of sweat dribbled down our faces, necks, and arms. Tamara's hair was singed, and heat curled. The back of my right hand was brown-red with cooked blood from a cut. We had no food or water, no supplies of any kind, and no equipment other than Sergo's rifle and a small pocket knife he carried. We came upon a deer that had been killed by the fire. It may sound revolting, but the animal was already cooked and ready to eat, which we did. Sergo then butchered it as best he could with his small knife. We set off again, each of us carrying a leg of venison. We crossed a grassy plateau, wary of any troops that might be in the area. A steep pine-covered slope gave way to a broad valley and then to a marshy flatland. A putrid odor rose from the muck through which we found ourselves slogging, foul water welling up underfoot and seeping into our shoes and boots. Clouds of mosquitoes and almost invisible mites stung us relentlessly. Thirst began to drive us crazy. All around us was water, stagnant, slimy, and covered with yellow-green skins of algae. "No, Sergo!" Sergo had dropped to his knees and was about to drink the wretched stuff. "No," said Tamara again. "That water is like poison." She grabbed him gently by the collar and pulled him to his feet. After crossing an especially large and rank-smelling bog, we found ourselves stopped by a dense thicket of cane. We made a detour up a short, rocky incline and were greeted by a soothing breeze whispering through a forest of tall, gray-barked oak trees. Shortly we came to a small stream. We drank thirstily and washed our hands and faces in the cool, clean water. Feeling better, we got underway again. As I moved along, eyes fixed on my feet, I found myself studying small patches of sunlight on the ground. They changed shape, expanded and contracted each time the leaves stirred overhead. Sometimes a shaft of light would dart like a yellow arrow across the ground, then retract. Golden specks would appear, grow in size, jump around, then suddenly vanish. I recalled a game I had played as a boy. On a hike through the woods, a friend of mine named Kurt Olsen and I had arranged a race in which we were not allowed to step on the spots of sunlight. "What are you doing?" I looked at Tamara and was suddenly embarrassed. Without realizing it, I had been stepping over spots of sunlight. Unsmiling, Tamara arched a brow in question. What was that all about? Blushing, I explained about the boyhood game. "I didn't even realize what I was doing," I said. "I forgot myself for a second." "How does a person forget what they don't remember?" She mused, the comment tinged with sarcasm. "It's a quickly acquired skill, under difficult circumstances," I replied. The trees began to thin. Spindly saplings replaced the huge old oaks and elms. We found ourselves picking our way down a hot, winding slope, grabbing hold of saplings and bushes for support. The sound of rushing water greeted our ears. Ahead through the trees we spotted a waterfall, several of them. A granite cliff had been worn away into what looked like 4 or 5 chimneys set close together. Water gushed over them and spilled down between them into a large, deep pond. The three of us tossed our shoes and socks aside on the shore. Then, in our filthy clothes, we waded right in until the wonderfully cool water was almost up to our necks. We bathed, letting the water wash away the grime and the stink of smoke and the ease of the itching from our mosquito bites. Afterward, we sat and let the sun dry us. "Where are we?" asked Tamara in a monotone. "Where are we headed?" "Southwest," I told her. "That's all I know." "Perhaps toward German lines?" "I'd prefer not, since technically I'm a deserter." The tension between us was hard, palpable. I tried to soften it. "Perhaps somehow we can make it to Switzerland or some neutral country." "I want to go to America," Sergo suddenly exclaimed. Tamara and I exchanged glances, tacitly communicating our mutual reaction that the notion was absurd. She got to her feet. "Yes," she said, a sardonic edge to her voice. "Yes, let's go to America." "Oh, good," exclaimed Sergo.